It's no secret that Ford and its dealerships haven't exactly been on the best of terms lately. Tensions have been running high as dealers are frustrating customers with their profiteering tactics, causing many to turn their backs on the brand. But now, Ford is ready to take matters into its own hands and remove dealerships from the equation entirely. This is a bold move, and CEO Jim Farley is confident that it's the right one. He believes that Ford can provide a better customer experience if it sells its vehicles directly to customers. Farley's plan is already in motion. The auto industry has been through a wild ride in recent years. Prices surged to all-time highs in 2021 and have since leveled off. In January 2022, over 80% of car buyers in the US paid above MSRP. This is a significant increase from previous years, when only a small percentage of buyers paid above MSRP. Automakers like Ford, Toyota, and Hyundai are fed up with dealerships charging excessive markups. They've issued warnings, created new rules, and even implemented an agency model in an effort to curb this practice. However, these efforts have yet to be fully effective. If you drive by a Ford dealership today, you'll likely see a lot full of cars. But don't be fooled, these cars aren't selling much. The automobile manufacturers are currently encountering several challenges, and the timeline for improvement remains uncertain. This situation is proving to be frustrating for dealerships nationwide and presents unfavorable circumstances for Ford. The rise of electric vehicles is a significant factor contributing to the changing landscape. Electric vehicles, or EVs, are gaining popularity due to their various advantages compared to traditional gasoline-powered cars. These advantages include reduced emissions and lower operating expenses. In 2022, global sales of EVs amounted to 6.6 million vehicles, a substantial increase from 2.2 million in 2018. This growth is being driven by a number of factors. Ford's investment in this sector is substantial. However, they're not seeing the returns they'd hoped for just yet. And to make matters worse, dealerships are struggling to sell their ICE, or internal combustion engine vehicles, putting a dent in Ford's bottom line. It's a massive problem because Ford needs the profits from ICE vehicle sales to fund their EV sector. Without those sales, they won't have the cash flow required to keep investing in their electric future. Imagine yourself in a high-stakes game where the slightest wrong move could lead to disastrous consequences. That's the kind of position Ford finds itself in right now, where one wrong move could cause the entire tower to collapse. The stakes couldn't be higher as Ford navigates through the challenges of the automotive industry. If things don't turn around soon, Ford's ICE sector could be in serious trouble. They might be forced to channel money from their business to fund EV development, all while making little to no profit from sales. It's a state that could potentially lead to bankruptcy if they're not careful. This is why Jim Farley's and his team's strategies to move towards direct-to-customer sales needs to be implemented as quickly as possible. Ford's Center of Innovation and Growth, which focuses on electric vehicles, reported a loss of $722 million in the first quarter of 2023. Part of the problem can be attributed to production interruptions for their popular EVs, the Ford Mustang Mach-E SUV, released in 2021, that has a starting price of $42,895 and a range of up to 305 miles. The Ford F-150 Lightning pickup truck, released in 2022, that has a starting price of $56,974 and a range of up to 320 miles. Also, the Ford E-Transit, released also in 2022, that has a starting price of $45,295 miles and a range of up to 126 miles. Then the Ford Bronco Sport Hybrid, an SUV that was released in 2021, that has a starting price of $28,155 and a combined gas-electric range of 42 miles. These models were crucial for Ford's invasion into the electric vehicle market, but the setbacks have significantly slowed down their production. The Ford Mustang Mach-E SUV, in particular, has been a problem on Ford's side. The company had to reduce its price severely. The first price cut came in January, following similar moves by Tesla. And now, in a bid to attract more prospective buyers, Ford has slashed the price, citing industrial changes that will increase manufacturing capacity as the reason for the production. There are a few reasons for Ford's price cuts. First, the cost of battery production is high. Second, there's an ongoing semiconductor shortage or chip famine. And third, Ford is still in the early stages of ramping up production of its electric vehicles. Other EV companies like Tesla, in particular, are flexing its pricing power and driving costs down. They have a dynamic pricing model that adjusts based on demand, allowing them to sell more cars while still making a healthy profit. In fact, they're raking in insane amounts of money on every vehicle sold. Their market value as of Q1 2023 is $791.2 billion. This makes it the most valuable automaker in the world, ahead of other notable automakers. Despite the loss, Ford CEO Jim Farley said he is confident in the long-term project and prospects of the Model E business. He said that the company is making progress and advancing in developing new electric vehicles, and that it's on track to launch 20 new electric vehicles by 2026. Farley also said that Ford is working to reduce the cost of battery production, and that it is investing in new battery technology. He said that these contributions will help Ford to become more competitive in the electric vehicle market. In general, the first quarter report for Ford's Model E business was dissatisfying. Nevertheless, the company is still in the initial stages of its electric vehicle expedition, and Farley is positive on the long-term prospects of their business. Now, Ford has introduced a new electrified dealership strategy. It is taking a bold move by shifting towards a sales model similar to Tesla's. They aim to bypass the traditional dealership system and sell directly to customers. However, the company isn't completely upfront about its intentions. Instead, they've introduced a new electrified dealership strategy that seems to encourage dealers to voluntarily opt out rather than being forced out. This new strategy has been met with mixed reactions from dealers. Some dealers have embraced the new model and agreed to pay the necessary fees, while others have pushed back by suing the company. The dealers who are suing Ford argue that the voluntary nature of the scheme is not openly evident, or a disguised tactic designed to force them to spend more money on unnecessary training just to comply with industry standards. They also argue that Ford is violating their franchise agreement by not giving all dealers the right to sell and service all vehicles, regardless of whether they subscribe into the EV program. They argue that Ford is violating their franchise agreement by requiring them to invest $1.2 million each in charging equipment, staff training, and other upgrades to sell and service electric vehicles. They also argue that Ford is breaking the law by not giving all dealers the right to sell and service all vehicles, regardless of whether they opt in or out of the electric vehicle program. The dealers who are suing Ford believe that the company is trying to compel them out of business. They argue that the new strategy is too costly and that it will be difficult for them to compete with companies like Tesla, which sells EVs directly to customers. Ford has defended its new strategy, arguing it is necessary to adapt to the changing automotive landscape. The company says that the new strategy will allow it to sell more EVs and provide better customer service. Some individuals believe that the dealers are right to be concerned about the new strategy. They argue that the new strategy will lead to higher prices for consumers and a decline in customer service. Others believe that the dealers are exaggerating. They argue that the new strategy is necessary for Ford to compete with other companies in the EV market. They also argue that the new strategy will sooner or later lead to lower prices and better customer service for consumers. The dealers who are embracing the new model assert that it will allow them to better serve their customers and compete with other EV companies like Tesla. They also argue that the new model will allow them to save money on overhead costs and reinvest those savings into their businesses. First of all, the $1.2 million investment that Ford is asking for isn't unreasonable. Electric vehicles are a different technology that requires specific equipment and skills. For comparison, Tesla spends about $1 million per supercharger station, and Volkswagen has pledged to spend $2 billion on charging infrastructure in the US as part of its diesel emission settlement. Secondly, Ford's non-negotiable pricing for its EVs actually benefits customers. It eliminates the hassle and uncertainty of haggling with dealers. Customers can simply go online and order their EV at a fair and transparent price, without worrying about hidden fees or markups. Thirdly, Ford's remote pickup and delivery options for EVs are incredibly convenient. They save customers time and money by eradicating the need to travel to and from dealerships. Customers can schedule a pickup or delivery at their preferred location and enjoy a hassle-free experience. And finally, the limited allocations of EVs that Ford distributes among its dealers are not a sign of favoritism or discrimination. It's solely a reflection of supply and demand. Ford has already received over 200,000 reservations for its F-150 Lightning alone, which exceeds its current production capacity. Therefore, it makes sense for Ford to prioritize dealers who are willing and able to sell and service EVs over those who aren't. However, it is clear that the company is making a significant shift in its approach to selling electric vehicles. So, is it fair for Ford to shake things up and implement their EV certification plans? Are dealers genuinely looking out for their customers' best interests, or are they simply trying to protect their own profits and resist change? Ford's move towards direct-to-consumer sales and their efforts to remove dealerships from the equation is not about forcing dealers out of business. Instead, it's about helping them adapt and thrive in this new era of electrification. Ford sees the benefits of a direct sales approach, much like Tesla's successful model. While some dealers are resistant to change and have filed lawsuits, it's essential to consider the bigger picture. Ford's focus on EVs, non-negotiable pricing, convenient pickup and delivery options, and the allocation of resources are steps toward a more sustainable future. So, get ready, folks, as Ford paves the way for an exciting electric journey.